We good to go? All right. Committee on Legislative Affairs and Elections will come to order. Clerk, call the roll.
All right, Council Capone.
Here.
Council DeFlorio. And Council DePiero.
Here.
And Council Del Sola. We have 4 members present. We do have a quorum.
4 members present. We have a quorum. Please rise to salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before the clerk reads the first piece of business, Council McLaughlin has a family commitment and will not be able to be here this evening.
All right, this is the Legislative Affairs Committee. This is Thursday, January 24, 2019. We're at 6 p.m. Item number 1. This is an ordinance up by Council Marchese that in addition to the nuisance panhandling be added as follows. It shall be unlawful for any person to beg or solicit money or aid in his own behalf in any place of business, house, or upon any street of the city of Everett.
Council DeFlorio.
The sponsor I know is not here, and I understand where he's getting through with this, but what happens to the Girl Scouts? What happens to the, anything that is, they're trying to raise money? If there's football, the football team, there's so many people that are out there, what are they, cannon, what does it do with that? So we have to be very specific on how we turn around and do something like this, because it could hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
What I wound up doing, we already have ordinances in existence. So there's 2 actually ordinances. So I gave you a copy.
Okay.
You may want to take a look at it to see if it's something that you want to write a pad on,
Okay.
or if the 2 ordinances may come from it.
Okay. Does the membership want to lay this on the table? And we'll take a look at this?
Yes, I'll make a motion to lay it on the table.
Do we have a second?
Second on the
Move and
motion.
second to lay item number 1 on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Clerk will read item number 2.
Right. Item number 2 is a resolution by Council Marchese that any new piece of business that is placed on the council calendar be sent to committee without discussion.
The sponsor's not here? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Well, if the sponsor's not here, I'm going to make a recommendation that we lay it on the table until the next time. I know there's going to be a lot of laying on the table, and then we're going to have another committee meeting. Did the sponsor say there was a reason why he didn't come? Did he call?
I talked to him an hour ago, he didn't say he wasn't.
Okay.
Okay, so this is where the problem is of having committee meetings, and then the sponsors don't show up, because I don't know where they're trying to go with it.
Yep.
As far as not putting, I agree that stuff should be sent to committee. You shouldn't have to spend an hour on the floor, then send it to committee, then it comes back and we spend another hour on the floor. Because this has been an ongoing problem that I have seen the last couple of years.
Yep.
But at the same time, if I put something on the agenda and it's gonna go to committee, I have to give directions on what I want.
Absolutely.
So it's like, it's tough, you know what I mean?
Well, the rules that we have right now will give that to the president.
Yeah.
If he sees a discussion is going to be going, and it's not going anywhere, he has to write it to the committee. What you don't want to do is keep
Right,
it
but
up,
that's-
keep it in there. This is a perfect example.
Yeah.
And I get that, but it's
Yeah.
hard for the president, not that I'm making, I've been in that chair.
Yeah.
You have 3,
It's not just the president, he has the right to do that, but the membership has too.
Sure.
You call for
because you have 3 people talking, they talk a half
Yeah.
hour,
When
now
you-
all of a sudden you're calling
Yeah.
for the question, and 4 other people can't talk.
Yeah.
So it's, you know what I mean, you have to make it so that it's fair for everybody and nobody gets upset, and I know that's very difficult.
Perfect example was the other night, Council Capone made a motion to request at the committee of the whole. Yet you spent a half hour still talking about it.
Well, but the president can allow to say, go into committee takes president, no discussion. That I would agree with, okay? Because sending something takes a committee, takes president over any other ruling anyways.
Right, the motion was already seconded to go into committee, but you had members still, there had to be a half.
Well, anyway, so I don't know, I have no idea what he's planning to do with this,
Yep.
because we already have
Okay.
rules, we've already been through
Yep.
this, so
Yep.
You want to lay it on the table, you want to refer it back to sponsor, whatever the
I know
board
Counselor
wants to do?
DePiero had his hand up. See what he-
Okay, whatever this,
Yeah, okay. Counselor DePiero?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a lot of the same concerns that Councilor DeFlorio does. No one's a bigger advocate than I am for sending stuff to committee because it's redundant. We talk about things for a long period of time, it bounces back and forth, and we do it all over again. I just don't want a piece that ties our hands where if something is a simple piece of new business that can just be voted on and passed, whether it's emergency or whatnot, I don't want our hands tied, whereas, you know, if it could be fine-tuned if it requires a lengthy discussion or if the piece has a guest invited. I just don't know what the sponsor's intention is.
Yeah, no, I share your concerns, and I look at the piece, and if a sponsor is talking on the floor and they want to send it to committee, then I think it's on the rest of the membership to understand if it's going to committee, we don't need to banter it, unless it's something important. And then if it starts to go left or right, I think we could leave it up to the president to just say, okay, the sponsor had decided he wants to send it to committee, we good with that or not? And then if it starts to delay, leave it in the president's hands. I don't think we need to have a rule that stifles communication and debate off the bat.
At least
But
we
that's
want one
just-
that just defines any piece of new business.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Counsel?
I mean, I also understand, if you have like a rule going in, or if you have an ordinance going in, yeah, it should go to committee, absolutely, with no discussion, because you have to work over it. But if the mayor comes down the hall with something important,
Yeah.
that we can vote on that night, that doesn't have to go to committee, there's a lot of things that don't have to go to committee. We've had the capital improvement plan, for example. You can vote up and down. Nobody's saying you have to vote for it, but you've already gone through a budget hearing.
Yeah.
It's already been in the budget hearing. So at that point, why send it to committee?
Yeah.
You don't want to vote on it, that's fine, you don't have to prove it.
Yeah.
But something like that, I mean, you should discuss it and say it shouldn't go to committee, unless
Yeah.
something new comes up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree.
So it's your pleasure. I mean, we
I
can
mean, to me,
we
I
can
would
refer
vote
it
to
back.
refer this back to sponsor. That
Yeah.
would be my intention.
It sounds like collectively that's where we're at anyway. So is there a second on the floor? Just move second to refer item number 2 back to sponsor. All in favor? Ayes, opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 3.
All right. Item number 3. This is ordinance offered by Council Richard Teleshola as president that a notice for a commercial passenger vessel license for business located inside the city of Everett be established.
If we could have the city clerk come up
Could please have the
to
clerk
explain
before
this to
us?
us, please.
Good evening, Mr. Clerk. If you could please just identify yourself for the record.
Sergio Canelio, City Clerk for the City of Everett. I also do have the consultant who's been helping with all the licensing, in case there are any questions for him also. And before we go into this, I wanted to remind you that Mr. Marchese asked for items 1 and 4, not only for me to be here, but for the city attorney. She's on her way down. She just had a last-minute meeting.
Okay.
So, and she doesn't stay late on Thursdays, so I would ask for due diligence, to give her the respect to come down, explain items 1 and 4 without referring them back or laying them on the table for another meeting.
Okay.
She will be here very shortly.
Okay.
I just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
All right.
So, on item number, 3?
3.
This is for the commercial vessel. This came about over the last few months with talks with the Encore. As we know, they're going to be having water taxis, so vessels on the water. And we felt it necessary, like we license our taxis and our livery and every other business in the city, that where we're going to have these vessels going over the waterways, which are in Everett, carrying passengers from point A to point B in docks and being docked in Everett, I felt it was necessary to have some type of license to regulate them, to make sure that the drivers are licensed, that the operators, the owners are licensed, that the vessels have insurance, because it's necessary, God forbid something happens, we want to make sure we did our due diligence in licensing this type of operation. And where every other business does have a very similar license, we felt that it was necessary to have it. Encore was looking for something, and so there really wasn't much to look at. So this was created almost from scratch with the work of our consultant. And I think it's a very solid piece. It's not too cumbersome. It's pretty straightforward. I think some of it is taken from our taxi and livery in essence, though this is over a waterway is the difference.
Okay.
So it's the same thing. The vessel will be licensed, the person will make sure that they're licensed and insured. That's how we did it. You'll see there's an application fee, a renewal fee. This will be, we have standardized licenses now that we did probably in November, December. We passed it. And so everything's standardized, and then we just say, yes, we need this, or no, we don't. And that's on page 1 and 2. You'll see the yeses and nos. Do you need a certificate of good standing, which is have they paid their taxes, REPA attestation. Certain things are required by state law, some things are required by city ordinance.
Okay.
So that's what's before you now.
Okay, excellent. Any questions for the clerk? Councilor DeFlorio.
If someone has a vessel and they're from Medford, for example, okay, they park their vessel in Medford, and they live in Medford, but they're gonna be bringing people over here.
Yep.
You're not required, are you required?
They're still licensed, yeah. It doesn't,
You still have to require
it does
them.
not say that they have to be an Everett
Everett
company.
residents, okay.
No, because
So
we
once
license
they-
a taxi company who
Right.
resides in Malden, but their vehicles are licensed. So there are different types of licenses. There are ones for the operation in the city, or or for the operation of those vehicles in the city. So they don't have a brick and mortar store here in Everett, but their cars or their vehicles pass through our community and pick up passengers, so we license them. It's very similar.
So it's similar to, that's what I.
It's similar to that, yes,
Okay.
if
All
that
right.
makes sense.
Any other questions?
They will be docking here, though, not maybe staying overnight, but they still will dock in the city of Everett to drop off passengers. They're not just passing through.
And who's
It's,
gonna, excuse me, who's gonna, see through this? Who's gonna,
this is us. So the
Enforce it.
initial license will be passed through the city council. Renewals, again, will be, like we do our renewal process. And who's going to make sure that they're licensed? And so Encore is taking this on because they're going to make sure everything's done correctly. We have multiple licenses that they have through us, through the city council and the city clerk's office. And they're the ones that they came to me with it. So it wasn't like I just on a whim created it. They told me, oh, we have vessels, do you have any licensing, what are we going to do? And that's how this came about. So they want to make sure everything's done correctly. They don't want, God forbid, anything to happen. And I believe they're not going to own any vessels. They're going to be having a company do it.
right, but if I'm a private vessel,
Mhm.
okay, and I live in Medford.
Yeah.
I'm using Medford as an example.
Yeah,
I don't know
I-
if anybody
that's
lives in
fine.
Medford. I live in Medford, I have a vessel, and 4 or 5 of my friends are gonna go to the casino tonight, so I'm gonna drop them off. I'm not gonna,
Well, private boats are different, but if you're a company and you are going to be picking up people in the city of Everett, on the docks, on our shore, then you will need a license. And
okay.
yes, it will be my responsibility
private-
and
okay.
other licensing authorities here to make sure that people are doing it correctly.
Right, so, but what happens is, okay, so who's gonna enforce that? The Win people? Are they gonna say, I need
Oh, yeah,
a
I mean,
license, okay.
yeah, and I have full authority as your agent to go down and make sure that whoever is operating is in compliance with our ordinances.
Okay, that's what, oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like I do now with every other license.
right.
Councilor Del Sol.
I was just thinking about this. All the vessels, sure, it's not gonna be a traffic jam on the water, but let's God forbid something happens on that water. What's gonna be the response time
Send us
for help
traffic.
for one of these boats that, let's say they get hit or it starts to sink? Does Win have something prepared, or
That-
does Encore have something prepared to pretty much rescue the people that are in the middle of the harbor?
That I don't know, but I will tell you that there is the state police water barracks, which is right over in the north end, on the edge of the north end, which is not very far.
Not that far.
The Coast Guard, because we are next to an LNG tanker,
They're right there,
they're
too.
there often. So, I mean, I don't go on the water too much, but I would feel kind of comfortable in that area because I feel that with the response time of the state police, I think they have a few motorboats, and the Coast Guard in the area, that, I would say the response time would be fairly quick because you do have boats circling,
Right.
especially, and this isn't going to be in the winter. This is more of a spring, summer,
Summer,
maybe
right.
early fall, and there are other boats there, so the Coast Guard's always checking because of the LNG tank. And I'm sure that, I think the staff's seen some state police boats. So, I mean, something that we can look into.
They'll probably patrol it more when this opens up.
And there'll probably
I'm
be
sure.
even more patrol, yeah, knowing that there's going to be more vessels going in and out of Boston from Everett to Boston.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
One question I have is, has the city solicitor's office been able to take a look at this yet?
This was one of the ones,
Okay.
I always make sure that,
Okay.
I mean, I'm not an attorney, so I always send things to the legal department.
that's the right thing to do, yeah.
And she checks
Okay.
everything. And
So-
she did have some questions, and we fixed everything
Okay.
that she wanted.
If there aren't any other questions of our clerk, we'll excuse customary thanks. And then, well, I mean, it's up to the body to do what they want to do. Personally, I would make a recommendation that we hold it in committee and take a look at it, review it before we send it out on the floor. So we can hold it over at our next meeting, we'll review it, then if we have any questions, issues, we can discuss it at our next committee meeting or refer it out if it's good to go. But it's up to the body.
It doesn't have to happen tomorrow, but
Soon.
we
It's
do,
time
just so you
sensitive.
know, you have 4 other licenses coming on the agenda for Encore Boston Harbor.
Okay.
3 that are public hearings and a 4th
Yeah,
one
it's-
on Monday evening. We're trying to be ahead of the game because we
Sure.
expect an opening in June. These take public hearings, there's a process, and, so, there's different votes, and we don't know if it's going to be held up.
Absolutely.
I'm okay with it staying, but I ask you to,
Next time, it's got to go.
yes, that
Yeah.
would be my preference, if
Yeah,
we could.
exactly. I feel the same way.
All right.
But it's up to the membership, so.
Yeah, because we're only in January, so I did it this early on purpose, in case things got tied up for a month.
For our next meeting. Is it? Moving second to lay item number 3 over the next meeting. All in favor? Oh, just switch it. All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. Counsel the floor. Okay, so we'll take one off the table. Is there a second? Moving second, to take item number 1 off the table. All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. And read number 4 and take that collectively. So we'll have our clerk read that.
All right. Item number 4, this is a order by Councilor Marchese to request the approval of the state legislature to amend the City of Everett Charter through the nomination and election of a charter commission.
And I'm assuming the membership wants the city solicitor before us? If we could please have the city solicitor before us. And Madam Solicitor, just for the record, if you could please identify yourself?
Good evening. Colleen Mejia, City Solicitor.
All right. Members? Anyone? 1 and 4, anyone have any questions? Oh, okay. Okay. So we've got number 1. Did you want the solicitor just to address it? Okay. Okay.
So I did a little bit of research on panhandling, and it turns out that panhandling is protected speech under the United States Constitution. So we can't ban it. We can't regulate it. You can try to draft an ordinance in terms of, time.
Yeah. Maybe public safety off the roadway. Maybe you can't do anything on the sidewalk, but,
You can't.
yeah.
You
We could
can't.
take a look at that,
You
but-
can't, in open public spaces like streets, sidewalks, things
Yeah.
like that, it's very difficult to regulate. Buildings, you can. It's just,
Okay.
it may not be enforceable.
Okay.
If we try to regulate it.
Okay.
I know that the Supreme Court and some federal courts have shot down ordinances and bylaws. No one's really gotten it right yet.
Yeah.
So,
I think the only way you could probably target it would be public safety. That's the only way you'd probably
Yeah.
have any teeth in it. Other than that,
right,
it's
well,
gonna
just like
slip
I would
through.
have a right to come up to you and ask you for spare
Sure.
change, you
Yep.
have the right to walk
To
away
say
or
no
to say,
or
yeah,
whatever.
right.
I think if you're in the middle of the street, though, you put everyone, you put yourself
Yep.
in danger.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You
So-
put
so that would be
passengers
a-
in danger.
right.
So that might be the only angle, but
And that-
other than
So that would probably,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and that would be a different violation.
Right.
Right, so.
Right, instead not
It's not the
panhandling,
act of
it would be-
panhandling, but.
Yeah, endangering public safety or something like that. But, Counsel, you had your hand up?
Yes. I think the only issue with this is that, I mean, I don't know if you're coming home like from Market Basket, what's that, Second Street? I mean, actually, these people come right into your car.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I understand that people have the right to ask for money, people have the right to be in the street, but that was the only concern that I had, is, you know, I mean, if your car window is up, it's all well and good. But I had my car window down one day, and I was just standing for the light, and, you know what I mean, you get scared.
Yeah.
So, but, I mean, I understand, there's no way you can really enforce it, you know,
No.
so, but.
I mean, and even if we did have an ordinance, how would you enforce it? Through a ticket?
Yeah.
A lot
But
of
how are
these
you gonna
people
collect the money
homeless.
from a ticket?
They don't have any money.
Exactly.
Yeah, they
So
don't even
either
have a
it's-
place to live, so. But the ordinance that we have, now, we have an ordinance on the books. 'cause
I think
remember
so,
working
yeah.
on this
We do,
before.
I think we have, it's a two-part ordinance, right?
Yeah.
Two of them,
Yeah.
and, but like Ms. Mejia said, we've been discussing this the last week or so, and it's
just
the
not
the
enforceable.
enforcing issue
Yeah.
is what it is. I
Right.
don't think, you know, we write a lot of ordinances, but
But,
sometimes
yeah.
we write them without checking if there's any, you know, federal restrictions, right? You know,
Yeah.
any courts that have struck it down, and this is one of them. Same thing as our sex offender one that actually was okay and then got stricken, and we had to remove it from our books a few years ago. So it's the same thing, you know, things change.
So the recommendation would be probably to refer back to sponsor at this point.
Yeah, I would say either that, or if you want to take a look at the ones that we have, if you wanted to hold it, look at it, and then at that point, you know, see where we're at, because it might already address some of the concerns that the sponsor has, but clearly we're hearing from city solicitor that enforceability is going to be extremely difficult.
So my
So-
recommendation is, if we lay it on the table, is to get that ordinance and send it to the counselor to look at it.
He's already seen it, and
Okay.
we were on the phone for a half hour, and I read it to him.
Okay.
And I did explain that a lot
Okay.
of what he wanted was in there.
Okay.
That was stated,
Yeah.
but he
That-
thought his sounded a little different, but I
Yeah.
mean, it was,
Yeah.
words were different, but the intent was the same. So,
I mean, to me,
I
to
mean, he
lay
did know
everything-
about it.
Lay
So-
everything in committee, and then you have 10 other pieces
Yeah,
coming in.
yeah. Well, and-
On
and-
something that,
Yeah.
or else we could send it out with no recommendation.
You could
Something
do
to get it-
that, you could do that too, and in
Yeah.
the interim review it.
Right.
'Cause
And in
it-
the interim, he can review
Yeah.
it, and if he has any other further questions, or he wants us to do something that we can do, send it back to committee.
Sure.
But to lay it down here, and then lay it on the
Yeah.
table, and then have the sponsor not come again,
Yeah.
and then you have 10 other pieces on the agenda.
Well, we
that's-
could also start a precedent that if a sponsor doesn't come 2 times, just kick it back. Yeah, yeah.
We already have that rule.
So we can,
But what I'm
that's up
afraid
to the
of, like
membership.
the clerk said, we already have 4 other licenses
Yeah.
coming.
Oh, you're gonna have a bunch of things coming
Yeah.
to
So we have
legislative
a lot of
affairs.
things
Sure.
coming here, you know what
We
I'm
can-
saying?
yeah, we can do- yeah, whatever-
My
whatever you guys wanna
recommendation,
do.
if the board agrees, is to send it back with no recommendation, and in the meantime, give the council the ordinance and,
okay. All right, so, and we still have one other piece, so we'll
You
keep
wanna just-
everyone right
yeah,
there.
finish
Yep.
one, yeah.
All right, so I'm sorry, the motion on the floor was what?
send it out with no recommendation.
It's been second. Moved and second to refer item number 1 out without recommendation. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. That brings us to item number 4. And I'm assuming you want to just get an overview from the city solicitor on this one?
Yes,
as well?
please.
If you would, please.
Sure.
On item
So,
number 4?
I sent a memo, I don't know if you
Yep, they all
you all
have it on their
received it,
desk.
okay. So, I mean, it's very involved. The sponsor, there are certain things that the sponsor wants to do in revision of the charter, and changing of terms, changing of years of terms requires a charter commission to be elected. Before that, you have to get signatures, I think it's 15% of the registered voters. And then if that passes, it goes on the ballot, and then a charter commission is elected on the ballot, and then they have 18 months to review and draft a new charter, and then that goes on the ballot. So it's
Pretty involved.
time-consuming and expensive.
It's a
Yeah.
6 to 8 year
So
process.
just so he knows, that's what he's, 6 to 8 year process.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it cannot be done by going to the legislature like we do with the smaller pieces.
Okay.
Home rule petitions are only for everything
Yeah.
but
But, yeah.
elected officials,
Chapter
their terms of
43B.
office and such.
Yeah,
And that's
Chapter
very,
43B, Section 10 spells it out, that
yeah.
any changes in the way of composition, mode of election of appointment, or term of office of a legislative body, mayor, or city manager, has to go through a whole charter.
And it also
Commission.
spells it out in the state constitution. So
Okay.
it's actually in 2 locations. The state constitution's very,
And
very strong.
I apologize that I forgot to attach the statute in the the section of the Constitution. I'll gladly email that to you all.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful. All right, thank you. Councilor,
Oh,
But
you
it
know
says
what?
that- it
I
says-
can make copies, I have it right here.
Yeah, but it says the
Okay.
same thing, that you need 15% if you're going to change the term of office.
Okay, so it's pretty
or,
involved. It's a pretty
term
involved
limits and
process.
things. It is very involved.
If you're gonna
You
do
need
one or two things, it's gonna-
3,500 signatures, and then And there's a time frame. You have 30 days after that to submit it, and it's on a specific, you can't just get it on a regular piece of paper. The state has, the Secretary of State's office has to give you the specific paperwork where you have to get the signature on. It is very involved.
Okay.
But
All right,
we
thank
wanted to
you.
give them the process.
No, appreciate it. Counsel DePiero?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Solicitor, you said that it had to be a charter commission solely. Couldn't it be a ballot referendum
No.
kind of thing, just solely a charter commission?
Yeah, the statute talks about how those certain items have to be done by a charter commission.
Okay. I really don't know what we do with this. I think the sponsor's only intent is to reduce the term of office for mayor. Personally, I think a 2-year term is ludicrous. Part of the reason why I supported the charter change back in 2011 before I could vote. I mean, you come in as a freshman mayor and you deal with your predecessor's budget for the first year, 6 months, whatever it may be, and you're just constantly in campaign mode. I think the 4-year term provides stability. It's frustrating the sponsor's not here. I mean, our time's just as important as his. My recommendation would be to refer back to sponsor.
Okay. Counsel?
I agree to refer it back to sponsor. I would like to add 2 years to the council, because we're campaigning every year.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
I hear you there.
you know, and as far as term limits, that's all well and good. But if someone's doing a good job and the city's moving forward, why would you want to put a term limit
Yeah.
on someone?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, people have a choice. People go out to
Absolutely.
vote, and it's the people's choice. We get voted in, we are not appointed.
All right.
And there's
Okay.
also no city that has term limits. There's only towns that have term
New York
limits.
City.
No.
Do
in
we have any
Massachusetts.
questions
No,
of
Massachusetts
our
city that
guests?
has
We don't
term
have any
limits.
more questions of
Well,
our guests.
excuse me,
because
customary
excuse
thanks.
the
Thank you very
customary-
much.
I'll
for
make
what you-
copies right now.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
And, yeah, so my thing is to refer it back to sponsor also, because I would have to vote no on
Hey,
something like
Counsel
this.
DePiero, you want to say
Just
something?
very quickly, we do
Sure.
have term limits. They're called elections.
Oh, absolutely.
and they
Every
have
2 years they come up.
consequences. If you don't like the person, don't vote for them. You
Okay,
know,
so.
thank you.
We have a motion, and it's been seconded on the floor to refer back to sponsor. All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. Second? Yep. Yep, it's going out without recommendation. So do we have a second on adjourning? Moved and second to adjourn, all in favor? Opposed? You have adjourned.